Good morning to everyone. Good morning, Senator, the Honorable Clarence Ramrat, Minister of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries, Mr. Shivan Ramnath, CEO of the ADB, Mr. Alpha Senon, founder of Y Farm. To all of you who have logged on to hear these expert panelists, thank you for your attention this morning. It is an honor to be here, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak. This is my first speaking engagement at a GW event. So, I mean, what can I say? This is a spectacular time to be alive. Every day we are creating and living history, and in years to come, people will look back at us and say, what were they thinking? But the truth is, we are living at a time where certainty is something of the past, and decisions are being made based on information that is evolving daily. For the most part, these decisions are made with our best interests at heart, and time will tell if these were the correct decisions. And this is not just local, this is a global phenomenon. No one can accurately predict what lies in our short to medium future. The choices and decisions that we make today will impact us, our children, and future generations. When we entered lockdown in March this year, it seemed to drag on forever. It felt like an eternity. But time waits on no one. And in a few days, we will be entering the last 6 weeks of 2020. Where am I going with this? In late 2019, I first heard about the coronavirus, like most of us here. And it was a wow moment for me. I thought to myself, this could be the big one. If this virus is as bad as China is making it out to be, we could have a real dilemma on our hands. Carnival came and went, and a few moments later, COVID-19 was on our shores. Then it was every business person's nightmare, especially for the SMEs. Who or what was essential versus non-essential? How are we going to survive? How are we going to pay our employees? And how are we going to pay the bank, most importantly? Many questions and not so many answers. Our economy was already fragile and many businesses were experiencing slowdowns pre-COVID. What was happening? Is there going to be civil unrest? Will the army be called out? But for one thing, like Lysol and toilet paper was selling. Through all of these questions, my biggest concern for Trinidad and Tobago was the matter of food security. We are a country that imports the vast majority of our nutritional needs, especially our first world starches such as white potatoes, rice, and flour, and our protein staples, lentils, red beans, chana. How could we survive without doubles? There was word that many of the large grain producing countries were already stockpiling their own reserves and restricting exports. Where was TNT on that list of preferred customers? We don't have sufficient forex to pay our suppliers on time in normal circumstances. How are we going to pay them in a time of potential price gouging and scarcity? If the world came to a halt, like in those zombie apocalypse movies, what was our position going to be? So like every other panic buying citizen, I purchased soil, seeds, seedlings, manure, organic fertilizers, and the like to restart my home garden. And I planted every variety of vegetable, herb that I could find. Now, to put things in perspective, I live in a townhouse, so my total planting area is about 2 feet by 30 feet. So you could imagine the chaos that ensued when the bygone was growing on top of the cauliflower, between the pimento and tomato, and then whiteflies, caterpillars, aphids, mealybugs, and every pest in the country came to take a bite. Thankfully, the garden survived, and I learned many things about companion planting, beneficial insects, and the joy and pride of harvesting your own food and sharing it with your family and community. So by now, you're all wondering, who is this guy? So as I was introduced, my name is Marcus Suncow. I'm the Managing Director of Fresh Start Limited. Fresh Start is a small agri-processing company focused on fresh fruit juices and fruit juice concentrates. It was founded by my parents in 1994. It was built through years of adversity, hard work, and commitment. I've been in and around agribusiness and farming for most of my life. I won't go through the whole history now, but it was and it still is a labor of love. For the most part, I believe that agribusinesses are exactly that. Apart from being a source of income, a means of survival, or just something that was handed down from generation to generation, the key elements in the success of an agri project is love, care, and attention. And I'm not here today to tell you how to make your business a success, because quite frankly, agribusinesses are so unique and diverse, and they have so many moving parts. The only person that could really tell you how to be successful in your business is yourself. What I can do, I can help you ask the questions. If you can tell, before I ask myself a lot of questions. Having a good idea or product is not sufficient. You must be able to stand behind your product or brand through every step of the process. You should always be looking for continuous improvement. How can we make this better? How much will it cost to make it better? Do consumers even want it any better? And most importantly, will consumers pay more for it to be better? You know the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't subscribe to that. I believe in pushing things to their limit to see how much you can take. And when or if it breaks, you fix it and make it better. My maintenance technician tends to disagree with me because I break things and he has to fix it. But that's how life is sometimes. And I'm not only speaking about machinery, but all facets of the business. Push yourself to be better at what you do. How can I be more productive? How can this relationship benefit all stakeholders? How can I balance my life better? And what's the next big thing? Agribusiness in Trinidad and Tobago, I believe, is still in its infancy. Although we have many experienced farmers and farms countrywide, we have very few have really kept up with time and technology. This, of course, will affect all the downstream businesses, the processors, the retailers, distributors, you name them. So what we need is a more robust agricultural sector that is geared towards value creation, with a vision to not only feed ourselves, but to have the excess capacity to feed the region and export as many high-value products as possible. While we may not be able to produce high volume on a global scale, we can definitely produce high-value goods. We need a cohesive network of SMEs with a unified vision to curate and promote brand TNT. While this might be a bit utopian, it is not impossible. It can be achieved with knowledge and skill sharing, mentoring, and an understanding that this is for the benefits of future generations. Many of you who are actively involved in the industry already know it can be quite harrowing at times. Whether you are a farmer, a processor, or a supplier, we live and operate in a small country that has many inefficiencies. We depend on foreign inputs from seeds, nutrients, additives, packaging material, equipment, and spare parts, you name it. And more often than not, it has to be imported at some point of the value chain. A phrase that we have all gotten accustomed to, nah, that out of stock. Or my favorite, the shipment coming in about 6 weeks. This can be very frustrating, especially when you are now starting up or trying to develop a new product to get to market, or trying to prepare a large order for your big break. This is where the initial vision for your product gets skewed into something unrecognizable at times, and you settle for it. And I urge you not to settle. You cannot give up, and you have to make the extra effort. Make that push to make the product that you believe in. Do what you must to make things happen for your business. This is where innovation is paramount. You can't wait on a spare part or can't afford to purchase a machine. Build it yourself. It's easier said than done, but it's part of the journey. The fruit and beverage industry, or more commonly known as the juice business in Trinidad and Tobago, is very large and diverse. There are a few very large mega firms and some very small fledgling companies. Many very small fledgling companies. it is probably one of the easiest ways to get into agribusiness. You buy some oranges, you juice it, you put it in a bottle, and you slap a label, and bam, you have an agribusiness. However, when you go from making 5 cases of juice a day to 100, and then 500, and then maybe 1,000, only then you realize how expensive and challenging it can become. Sourcing raw material, storage, distribution, investing in equipment and people, ensuring your products are safe and standardized. The list goes on and on. You can never stop in this business. You start competing with the large companies, the mature players, and you try to stay under the proverbial radar. I said it's one of the easiest businesses to get into, but it's not the easiest to stay in. Every week, there are new brands on the market, but those new to the industry do not understand or do not know beforehand how difficult and expensive scale-up is, as it is in most food and beverage businesses. Again, there are many moving parts in agribusinesses, and those moving parts do not become fewer or any easier as you grow. The parts get larger and the issues do too. Part of my vision for the expansion of agribusiness or the development of agribusiness is knowledge and skill sharing. And I believe that having a firm or a company that can assist these small producers grow their companies to a scale where they can export their products without having to make the investment in plant and machinery. I think that is one of the ways that we can really enter the global markets under one brand with one vision. But all these things that I've said before is not to deter you from getting into or growing a business, but it's to help you understand what is involved. I think I went over my time. So in conclusion, we have a long road ahead in the development of agribusiness, but it also means it is ripe with opportunity. In the government's effort to diversify the economy, agribusiness may be one of the quickest, most beneficial means to achieve this. In 5 years' time, with sufficient investment, education, and support, we can see a total shift in the landscape. To many of the super talented entrepreneurs that were awoken during this pandemic, now is your time. Use what you have learned, develop the products, develop the processes. Make sure you get the best from your suppliers, and do not take no for an answer. Invest in yourselves and your business, and the rewards will follow. Thank you.
Thank you.